God it made. Always looking for that renegade. I calls it like I sees it. A spade is a spade. A good man is a thing of yesterday.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Sean, my man in Amsterdam. How are you?
You've been misinformed. I'm not in Amsterdam. Yeah, I'm doing okay. I apologize if my sound might not. I'm not at my desk. I don't have my new camera or my new mic. It's just my laptop, so it's going to be a little different. But here I am.
Yeah, it's understandable. Yeah,
Yeah,
there
yeah.
you are. Here I am.
Well, I guess it's been a few weeks since we've done a podcast.
It has. Yeah, I
Yeah,
would say it's close to a month.
yeah. That's what I was thinking too. We almost did one last week, but I couldn't quite get there. But now here we're back. It's August 10th. It's hot
Yeah,
as hell, and we're back doing podcasts after some life changes for me, and which we're,
definitely.
which we're going to
Definitely.
discuss
Yeah.
today. So I'm looking forward to that. Everything's you're in a very white room today with a very white T-shirt. It's very
Yes, yes. Very zen over here,
clean.
trying to keep
Yeah,
it
yeah.
light as possible. Yeah, it's like 10 million degrees here. Yeah, dog days of summer. I mean, I like the summer,
Hmm.
and the dog days this summer, it kind of reminds me of maybe when I was a kid and you're out like looking for a sprinkler to jump through or somebody's pool or something. We just went to Home Depot and got a water trough. So the girls are outside doing a cold plunge. There's ice in there. They're just like, we figured what the hell, we're gonna do it. So
That's a great idea. I mean, why not?
it's kind of fun.
Just
Yeah,
to stay, like you said, just to stay cool. It does remind me as when we were kids because we have like a portable air conditioner, but as kids there was no air conditioning. Maybe your richest friend, maybe like it just didn't exist, right?
it's
So
true. Yeah,
I remember
true.
I remember lived out in the country for a while and I had a little fridge, just like I got here beside me today, but I had a little fridge in my room. And I remember one summer just kept throwing my sheet inside the refrigerator, keep
Really?
cooling it off and then bringing it back out because it was a million degrees. You couldn't sleep. You couldn't. You sweat just sitting there. It was. I don't find it.
That's
We don't get that much anymore. But anyway,
Yeah,
feels like
it's very creative of you. I would have never thought about that as a kid, but I think that's a great idea. Maybe I'll try that later.
give it a shot. Give it a
Yeah,
shot.
absolutely. Yeah. So,
So
well,
um,
here we
today,
are.
I think we should jump into the subject because if we start catching up, it's going to be about our subject anyway. So let's just
It
jump
is.
into it. Um, we're going to
Yeah,
talk about diabetes today, which
we
is
are.
something very near and I wouldn't say dear to my heart, but near me. Um,
Yes,
so what have you got a definition of diabetes?
I do. I do. It's a medical definition, but diabetes is a disease that occurs when your blood glucose, also called blood sugar, is too high. Glucose is your body's main source of energy. Your body can make glucose, but glucose also comes from the food you eat. That's kind of the definition. There was another one that I printed on my. Yeah, diabetes is a long term health condition where the body has trouble controlling the amount of glucose in the blood. And then,
Interesting.
and then kind of a basic version of that is diabetes is when your body can't use sugar from food the right way. So sugar builds up in your blood instead of giving your cells energy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew that, but maybe not exactly that way. And you might not have this information. I didn't ask you to do it, but you don't happen to have a definition between the type 1 and type 2, do you?
I do. Yeah. Yeah. I'll read it, but type 1 diabetes is the pancreas doesn't make insulin. So glucose can't enter the cells properly and it builds up in the blood. Type 2 diabetes is the body's cells become resistant to insulin, meaning they don't respond well to it. and the pancreas then basically has to overact and eventually can't produce enough insulin to compensate.
Right.
Yeah,
So
and
type 1,
yeah,
if you're either born with type 1, or I remember a friend of mine got type 1 when he was like 12, and it was
yeah,
instant. It wasn't a grad, it was like, that's it. Your pancreas isn't making it anymore. And he was on
yeah,
insulin the next day. Like it was,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not a lifestyle diet or that it is an
No,
autoimmune disease that relates to genetic factors. Some environmental triggers, though, they say can also set this off. You're not always born with it, but it is an autoimmune disease. So you just can't produce insulin. Whereas
right.
type 2 is it develops over time.
Well, it's a
Right.
guy I know. He was only 12 at the time, but he was a major athlete. I mean, played every sport, really good shape, took care of himself, ate pretty well. Like, he definitely didn't do anything to bring it on. It just
Right.
happened for whatever reason.
Right. Right.
And but then I had an aunt, my dad's sister. She was born with it, and she ended up losing both her legs, her eyesight, and she eventually died from it pretty young. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it was
That's
taken. I don't think it was. I don't think the care was quite as good back then. Even the quality of the insulin and everything, I don't think it was quite as good. So
Yeah, and I mean, even just you saying that, I think just as because I was doing a bit of research, on it. My dad had type 2 diabetes as well. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's me. I don't know. I can't speak for general society, but I feel like it's kind of one of those diseases that people are like, it's not that big a deal. Like you can manage it. But the reality is it can obviously, as we'll talk about today, become a very big deal. And it's certainly in the last 50 years really rapidly increased.
yeah, our diets have gotten so poor, and I think we've become sedentary. And I know in
Yeah,
North America especially, diabetes is an epidemic. And you said a mouthful a second ago. I don't know
yeah,
if you were talking about your dad specifically, but I've said for a while now, just the last few years, I would love to speak to young people about their health, about taking diabetes seriously, because
yeah,
I became a type 2 diabetic in my 20s, and I was quite overweight. Um, but I didn't take it seriously at all, Chris.
yeah,
And then 10 years passed, and you know what changed in my life? Nothing. I felt fine. I still did whatever I wanted. It didn't slow me down. My,
yeah,
my A1C would go up to like 12 or 10. And my doctor would say, I was on pills. I was trying to control it with medication. I had a doctor one time trying to kind of talk me out of insulin, which is crazy. But he said, insulin, the problem with insulin is it goes in and it thins your blood out of the sugar. But he said it then all of a sudden your blood's been thick, and then insulin goes in, and all of a sudden the blood kind of shoots to the end of your blood vessels and starts
yeah,
breaking them down, and that's how you start losing your eyesight and feeling your feet. And he just said if you can avoid it, if you can beat it with diet and pills, try to avoid insulin.
right,
So I took him seriously, and he might have been right, but I didn't take the other part of it seriously enough. I didn't take the diet part seriously enough.
right,
So 10 years passed, another 10 years passed. Really not that big a deal. I mean, I'd had it for 25 years. I was 50 years old. I didn't see any particular ill effect to it. I had some numbness in my feet. My eyes were okay. And then what I call 50 hit me, man. And 50, I started developing Charcot foot, which is a
right,
fairly rare complication to diabetes.
right,
And Charcot foot is basically your arch softens and it starts to collapse and it kind of breaks down. And I combine that with the fact that I was an opiate addict at the time.
yeah,
I wasn't paying much attention to it. I thought honestly, this sounds really dumb, but I thought my sneakers were like getting weak, and I just thought my ankle was rolling a little bit, and I just wasn't
right,
paying attention. And then I got clean on my opioid addict, which we talked about that already. But then I really had a problem. I was limping all the time, and my arch, I could see my foot getting flat, and it was affecting my hips and all this other things. And I went in to see a doctor about it, a surgeon, and he told me what he thought it was. He said, "I think I can fix it. Come back in a month." And I went back in a month, and he said, "No, no, I can't do anything about it." This is a true statement.
Yeah.
He said, go get yourself a pair of really good work boots that are high up and tie them really tight, and then you should be able to walk straight. And I'm like, you told me you were going to fix me. Now you want me to buy a pair of work boots? Like what?
Wow.
So I went into my GP, and she wasn't there, but this woman was filling in for that I really like. I've had it before, and she said, a surgeon very rarely will override another surgeon. If someone says one thing, it's hard to get another surgeon to disagree with them. It's kind of like,
Right. Right.
right? But she said, I'm looking at your case. I'm going to send it to a friend of mine. And she did. He called me right in. He said, it's Charcot foot. I think I can help you. It's complicated. It's not easy. And that's when my journey began on that. And, we won't talk about it all, but, 5 or 6 surgeries later, I wore that metal bracket for 7 months. I've got 3 steel broken rods. I did have 3 steel broken rods in my foot. Um, in the middle of that, I had 3 strokes, and those strokes were definitely brought in at least partially by my diabetes. And then it led to 2 weeks ago, which we're going to discuss in a little bit more detail. But I got my lower left leg amputated, and
Yeah.
basically about a month ago, I got an infection in that foot, which I've had dozens of. I don't know, and maybe a dozen over the years. And this infection just about killed me. And I mean, I don't mean that figuratively. I mean that literally. I had a fever of 104, 105. It was like 12 days in a row. I went septic. I was in the
Yeah.
hospital. They were pulling stuff out of my leg. So basically, the surgeon said, Sean, there's absolutely nothing left to do to that foot. We've done it all. It's nothing left to operate on. It's causing you problems daily. I was going to the hospital 3 times a week. I was on antibiotics for a couple years straight. Well, it wasn't an easy decision to make, um, but they took off my lower leg quite not that far under my knee. It was a little higher up than I was hoping.
Right.
Uh, but he said we had to make sure we got everything out, all the problem area. And he
Right.
also was telling me, which you live and learn, that you really want your amputation up to at a certain point. You don't want to cut it too low, or your prosthetic won't work or react right. So
Right.
he knew what he was doing. So anyway, so 2 weeks ago I woke up with only one leg, and I've been dealing with that ever since. So
That's a lot, man. Thank you for sharing all that. That's a journey for sure. And I have questions. I've had questions, I guess, over the time that we've known each other that I haven't necessarily asked. And I want to preface all of this by saying, like, I don't want you to feel bad or do any of that stuff. But I think that there's some questions that I think, especially related to men, that I think are questions that are relevant to ask. And like, for example, when you were talking about, your Charcot foot, tingling starts, things start happening, you're not sure. Like, guys tend to just like, oh yeah, it's all good. I'm just gonna power through it. So like, for example, during that period, did you address it immediately? Did you wait a while? Was it kind of like, it's going to go away? That kind of stuff. Like that's, it's pretty common for certainly men our age and older. Like a lot of guys, they don't even go to the doctor. They're just like, fuck it, I'll be fine. And so I'll just ask you that. Like, did you kind of
absolutely,
like,
that's exactly what I did. I just
yeah,
thought, oh well, it's my ankle's a little off. I'll get it back and I'll work through it. And I was trying to
right,
buy insoles to fix it, and I just wasn't taking it seriously. I never took my diabetes seriously ever until I had to.
right. Yeah,
Um, but I just I just always just treated it like it was just kind of something I had, you know. I never took insulin, and I finally started taking insulin, and that Charcot foot started, and I didn't know what it was at the time. And
Yeah.
then, and then I got to the first, I could barely walk by the time I got it addressed. Like,
Right.
barely
Yeah.
walk. I remember my son was so frustrated with me. He said, Dad, like, what are you doing? Like, you
Yeah.
can barely get in the door, you know. The day of my first surgery, I had to walk down to the surgery. I could barely make it. Like, it was just absolutely ridiculous. And we started by putting steel rods in my foot to try to straighten it out. They broke. And then he put another one in, and it broke. And then I had this bracket bolted to my leg. I mean, they bolted into my bone, and my foot floated over it. That was hell for 7 months.
Sure.
My leg didn't even look real. People saw me come. They didn't know what the hell was going on, you know. But yeah, you're right. As a man, I did not. Maybe as a woman could do it too, but I just think a woman would tend to probably jump on a little bit quicker, you know, like
Yeah.
see what was going on. At
You
least
can't make the blanket statement across the board,
no,
but
no, no.
I think that just we have experience as
Man,
middle-aged men and our parents, our dads, more to the point. It's kind of like this. Yeah, a lot of guys. I mean, you hear lots of guys that are older that they find out they have prostate cancer. They've had a pain. They don't do anything about it. Oh, I don't want to go to the doctor and get a finger in my butt. Well, like it's like. Who cares, man, if you're going to prevent yourself from getting prostate cancer? But, the other question I guess I had, and I've wanted to ask this before and I haven't, but we're talking about it today. Like, what kind of advice in the early going when you were told you had diabetes? Like, were the doctors really like, were they like, okay, here's what you need to do. You need to change your diet. You need to exercise. You need to do this. Because those are all things that are
you know
clearly,
what? I don't I don't think it was impressed upon me as much as it should have been. You know, somewhat,
uh,
somewhat. But I find the doctors I've had, they're pill pushers, right? So it's like, well, here, take this, take this, take this. So I
right,
started off on one pill and then another pill. And I'm not kidding. I'm taking this day, I take like 5 pills for diabetes, right? And then they started talking about insulin, and I got scared off insulin, so I didn't take it. But yes, they also, said I remember going to a dietitian and was saying I should be exercising more, and I shouldn't be eating. I gotta eat a lot more protein and not eating carbs and sugars and all that. And you know what I did? I didn't do a fucking thing. I didn't.
right.
It makes me. I don't think I'm a stupid human being. I knew better, and I would get mad at people. If anyone ever tried to give me advice, I'd say, "Yeah, I know. I
Yeah,
know. I'm not an idiot. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't need your advice." And
right.
people are just worried. They're just trying to be nice, right?
Of
But
course.
I, I remember the big thing I did was I used to drink a lot of Coke. So I switched
Yeah.
to Diet Coke. That
Right.
fixed everything. I'll just drink Diet Pop and I'll be okay, right?
Right.
If I could have,
Yeah.
if I could have my, oh God, man, if I could go back to the time they diagnosed it, I don't think I'd be sitting here today with one leg. I know I wouldn't be. I know I wouldn't be. I would have been much better off. And
Say that again.
if I'd have just changed back when I was 25, when they told me to, I would still have 2 legs.
Yeah.
I just would have.
Oh,
I'm telling you.
I don't doubt that for one
And
second. And so I guess the next question is like, do you have like some shame or guilt or like do you have remorse around that? Is it like
rem-
I mean it's hard because you can't change the past, but
remorse is the word.
probably
Um,
yeah.
I mean, guilt and shame is probably true, but it's only for myself, like,
Right.
you know, um, but I just would like to pound into anybody that gets, you know, not only diagnosis of type 2, but if you're overweight, if you're struggling with that, and I know it's not easy. God, it's not easy. Losing weight is hard to do. But
Yeah.
even if you're not losing pounds, just eat the right stuff. Try to get some diet. And you don't have
Yeah.
to eat perfect all the time, but just do
Yeah.
better. And buddy, I'm starting to question my own intelligence because I'm so bad that even after I got Charcot foot and had all these operations, I still wasn't eating properly. Like I
Right.
just kept I think I'm invincible for some reason. Like I think I've always thought I was invincible. That's why I used to drive my Harley at 200 miles an hour. Like I just think, I'll be okay. I'll be okay. And I always use my depression as kind of an excuse to, well, I deserve this, or I just don't care. I got enough stuff on my plate. I'm worried about this. I'm worried about that. And then as you get sicker, you start feeling sorry for yourself, and you just don't feel like
Yeah,
taking
it's a
care of yourself.
yeah. It becomes
Um,
a vicious cycle.
it does, but I'll tell you, I've changed now. I'm changing now because
Okay.
I'm not losing my other fucking leg. I'll tell you that.
Right.
Fuck way. I know that sounds like, yeah, Sean, a little too late, but I think I'm going to be able to get a prosthetic, and everyone's telling me I'm going to walk around fairly normal, and I'm going to lead a better lifestyle than I've been leading the last few years because my leg's been so bad, and I'm going to
Yeah.
feel like a new person and all that stuff. And I'll talk about some of the challenges to get to that. But if I lose both legs, I'm in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I mean, look, a friend of mine, his dad got diabetes. He was in his 60s probably, and his was mostly diet related too. He wasn't necessarily overweight or didn't smoke, but like he went to the like complete extreme. Like he started making his own ketchup, like because that's the other thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is where sugar is, and like it's like literally in almost everything that's processed, anything
yes.
that is in a jar, in a bottle, in the frozen food section that is a pre-prepared meal. There is just a ton of sugar in it, right? And I think again awareness, and even you were talking about the fact that you didn't really change your diet, but part of that comes from um, environment. If you were brought up and it was okay to eat TV dinners and you have a certain, and then there's comfort level, and we all know about comfort foods, and so then we have all these associations. And then you also, in all that, you also brought up like depression. So then, depression becomes again, it's like, okay, well, I'm depressed, so I'm going to have ice cream, or I'm depressed, so I love cereal, I'm going to have cereal. So
Absolutely.
there is a real cycle. But I mean, I was reading, and again, I think when we have these topics, again, it's very personal for you. It's personal for me because I care about you, but it gives me again an opportunity to learn a bit about something and also to share that. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of environmental. I kind of lost my track there, but
No, but
but also it is also. Sorry, I got it. It can lead. The diabetes can in fact lead to depression.
yes, yes.
Because you have these sugar highs and these lows,
Oh,
these spikes, sugar spikes that people talk about. Like it's like, oh, I'm euphoric, oh, I'm down, oh, I'm euphoric, oh, I'm down, and sometimes you're not even aware of why it's happening.
oh, buddy,
So
and anger. I I'm not an angry person, as I think you know. I don't lose my temper. I don't holler. But when I
no,
was in my late 20s, 30s, when I was at my heaviest and I was eating really bad, I would just lose it, like for no reason. It'd
yeah,
just be like zero to, just like,
yeah, yeah,
and I feel terrible because that's not who I am. But it was literally just these spikes that were just running through my body that were just totally out
totally,
of control, right? Like it was like being almost like on steroids or something. Like, and
yeah,
and I was never smart enough to put two and two together. And I was even a smoker back then. And you said something else that triggered something for me. I grew up from the time I was born till I was 16, 17 years old. They used to call me Daddy Long Legs. I was tall. I was skinny as a rake. I could eat
yeah,
whatever I wanted. My sister struggled with her weight when she was younger. She couldn't eat stuff. She was always dieting. I felt so bad for her. She wasn't big by any means, but people get like that. And I was thin as a rail. They say, "Oh, what, you got a hollow leg? Where's it all going?" I can eat whatever I wanted. And the problem is when you can eat whatever you want till you're like 19, and then all of a sudden your weight goes, like I gained 100 pounds in a year, and I couldn't even understand what was going on. I like what?
yeah,
I don't gain weight. Like what is this?
yeah,
I remember the first time I saw a stretch mark, I'm like, what is this? Like, I don't know what's going on here, right?
Right.
And so that didn't help. And I was, and then there's all the other factors of life, like everybody. I got married, I was a father, I was on the road. I mean, I went from being a child one day to being a husband and a father and an employee and a traveler and all this stuff that I didn't know how to handle. And then
Yeah.
when you travel, you spend all day in the road, and all
Yeah.
of a sudden I got a couple bucks, and I'm like, nighttime, you think I'm going out for a salad and a nice glass of water? No, I'm getting donaires and pizzas and
Right.
McDonald's.
Yeah. It's hard being on the road and eating well. It is for sure.
It is. It's an effort. It's an effort.
It is an effort. Yeah, and interesting, like you mentioned the smoking. I was reading about diabetes this morning, and smoking is a key factor, which I was like, I didn't understand why, but I read the list. It increases insulin resistance because it makes bot cells less sensitive to insulin. Nicotine raises blood sugar levels, which I had no idea. It can cause spike in blood glucose. Um, it obviously increases the risk of heart disease, stroke, kidney disease, nerve, and eye problems, which are all associated with diabetes. And I think one of the biggest ones is it impairs the blood circulation, which, again, based on what you're telling me and based on what I read this morning, is directly related to the Charcot foot because your blood circulation, because you have cell damage because what I mean basically what I read and what I'm seeing like it literally the insulin the processing of the glucose it literally affects every cell in your body, which is like when you put it that way it's like that's it's not like I mean it's not like I have cancer in my neck, okay, like it's literally affecting like diabetes is affecting every cell in your body when it gets to a point where it is severe, I guess. And that like when you talk about it like that, it's like holy shit.
Yeah, and that's why, like, when diabetics can eat too much sugar, all of a sudden their eyes go blurry, and that's because your blood got thick, and it can't in your blood vessels. The blood can't get to the vessels in your eyes
Right.
because it's too thick. It's like syrup, right? And
Right.
in the old days, they used to test for diabetes by people with pee, and then they'd have ants and see if the ants would be interested in their piss or not because their piss would be sugary. Can you imagine?
Wow.
It,
Wow.
but it was just literally sugar in your body, that much sugar. And
Right.
but smoking, and anybody watches me, if anybody watches our podcast, they know I'm still vaping. I know I quit smoking a couple of years ago, started vaping, but I've already promised my wife and myself that I'm going to stop vaping too. Um, she's giving me a little bit of a buffer because I'm going through a lot right now. I didn't want to
Yeah.
jump on something else, but that's going to be very, very soon. I'm going to get rid of that too. Um,
I
yeah,
Yeah, and I didn't do any research on that. I mean, I've been struggling, as you know, with smoking and quitting. I'm smoking again. I was vaping for a bit. I'm honestly not convinced, to be honest with you, and this is a side topic, that vaping is that much better. I look at what's going on in the chemicals and those things, and I'm just like, I'm not convinced this is better. I mean,
I'm
I
not
know
convinced it
we've
is either.
talked about it on podcasts, the smell and all that stuff. I don't know. I mean, I get it. I get stress and I get it. Like, I totally understand, but that's a whole other subject. So I don't know.
No, no, it is, and you're right. I'm not convinced it is either. I'm not an idiot, but
Yeah,
I do like the vaping as far as it doesn't smell. It's
I get
super.
it.
I don't gross out my wife, my clothes, and my fingers and all that. But that's not the main problem. The problem is my health, and I can't
Yeah,
take any more hits. Like I
yeah,
can't take any more hits. I mean, I'm literally not even a full human being anymore. Like I'm losing parts of my body, right?
right.
But
Yeah,
it does get depressing, and this is a childish thing to say. There's an old Alan Jackson song, "Everything I Love Is Killing Me." It's like is everything I like doing have to be bad for me? Like everything, like Jesus
yeah.
Christ.
I mean, I guess, yeah. Look, I mean, if we talk to a non-smoker, they would say nothing good about smoking anyway, right? So it's
Oh,
kind of like it's just a mindset, right? It's like, oh, I enjoy this, but
I love I
eventually, to
love
the
I
point.
love smoking. Love it. I haven't smoked in a couple
Yeah,
years, and I love it. Love it.
yeah, I mean, I guess I do. I mean, I guess I could say the same thing, but I less and less, and I think in all of this, like, I've thought about my own sugar and my own sugar intake, and I think I eat very well, and I'm grateful just because I have a kind of a certain knowledge about what is good to eat, what's not good to eat, and I thankfully I have the ability when I like to make good choices in that. But I do love ice cream. That's been my biggest thing. And but it's interesting because I'm going through a phase. It's like again one of those things. Oh, I just have a little bit, but there have been times lately where especially just recently, I had like a double scoop, like a bunch of ice cream, and I actually felt hungover after I ate it. And I was like, this is fucked up. Like, this is not a feeling that I like. This is obviously I've given up alcohol, and that's been a wonderful thing. And so certainly anybody who is a drinker remembers being hungover and what that feels like. And I think when you get rid of drinking, that is like one of the greatest parts about not drinking anymore is you never have to feel hungover again, right?
Absolutely.
But when that happened, I was like, okay. Because now that association with having ice cream is like I feel like I'm hungover and I'm like I don't want that anymore.
I
So
that's
that was
not a bad
good.
thing. It
That
is.
was nice. Yeah, no, it was good. It was a good thing.
Well, I remember when I was younger. I mean, I think McDonald's was better when we were younger. It wasn't good, but I think it tasted better.
Yeah.
But I used to like McDonald's, but I remember being I think it was in my late 30s. I had McDonald's one day, and I realized every time I had McDonald's, 10 minutes later, I felt ill, like ill.
Absolutely.
It just
A
like
hundred
this.
percent.
Oh, what did I just put in
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
body? You know, it's
Just
just
doubling over. Yeah. It's
just
horrible.
disgusting. It's salt and sugar and crap and chemicals, and it's just here you go. Even their
Yeah.
milkshakes is just some chemical goo. It's not even milk. Like it's just
Yeah. Like again, nobody's gonna die or get diabetes from it if you have it once a year. Like, okay, not a problem, right? But
even
it's not.
ice cream. You said ice cream. If you went in the summertime, if you want to get an ice cream even once a week, you're not
Yeah.
going to get diabetes. The problem is if
No.
you're eating, a liter a day, or you know, I didn't get my diabetes from ice cream. I got it
No.
from the carbs, the cereal, the toast,
For
the
sure.
bagels, the spaghetti, the pasta,
Milk even.
milk,
Yeah.
everything, just carbs, carbs, carbs. I'm a carbaholic. I don't even like protein that much. But
Right. Right.
like you just see me drinking this here today is because I've been exercising, and my son said, "Dad, we got to get some protein into you." So I got me this
Yeah.
powder that he uses. It's well rated, and I'm drinking protein shakes because he said
Whey protein. Yeah.
you're doing your exercise, you need protein to build those muscles up, or it's not gonna work. So we're starting on a couple different things to improve that, right? So
100%. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you want to like touch on that, I actually so the two. When I did a little research into like diet, the two diets that are the highest recommended, the Mediterranean diet is the highest recommended diet.
okay,
It's proven people in Greece and Italy, they live a long time. They eat a lot of vegetables, fruits, nuts, whole grains, healthy fats, so a lot of olive oil and nuts, moderate amounts of fish and seafood, limited red meat and processed meat, almost no, well, moderate consumption of dairy, and then occasional wine. So that's considered one of the best diets. I switched away from, generally speaking, I don't eat cow milk or cheese anymore. So goat milk or goat cheese is much better for you. I know that. I drink almond milk in my coffee now, which I like the taste of very much because yeah, cow milk has lactose, which is a sugar.
I think I'm
So
gonna.
that was one thing that I read about. And then the other one was the DASH diet, which is dietary approaches to stop hypertension. I'd never heard of this.
Hmm.
But again, high fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, rich lean proteins, poultry, fish, and beans, legumes, low saturated fat, obviously, and then very low fat or fat-free dairy products, low sodium intake. So those were the two. So you said you were working on some diet stuff. Is there anything that you want to share, or something that's
Well, it
working?
hasn't
Or
been anything that intense yet. I haven't had much of an appetite since coming out of the hospital.
yeah,
The medicine's given me kind of a sick stomach, and you
yeah,
know, I've been everything always sounds like an excuse when I say it out loud, and maybe it is, but I haven't really had the mental capacity to deal with too much since I've lost my leg.
yeah. That makes sense.
I'm trying very hard not to be depressed. I am depressed, but I'm trying to stay out of that. Like, um, I'm trying to keep a little, I've been trying to keep a little bit busy or keep company around me a lot. I find
Yeah,
nighttime hard. I wake up in the middle of the night and I start thinking things like you said, remorse and guilt and stuff. And I even
yeah,
feel, and there's the
yeah.
parts of it. Yes, I've lost my leg and all that stuff, but I realize what I'm doing to my wife. Like, she's now got to take care of me again, and she doesn't complain, and she loves me, and she says she doesn't care, but she'd rather be doing something else, and I'd rather she
Yeah,
was doing something else and
for
waiting on
sure,
me.
for sure.
Um, thank God I have her. I couldn't get
Yeah,
by without her, and my kids and my family and my friends and everybody. But
yeah,
you also, at first it's nice, people are paying attention to you, and you realize the people that love you, and it's nice, but it gets old quick. I don't want to be a burden on people. Like,
no,
and then
no,
I
of course
find
not.
I'm even going without things that I want because I just can't bring myself to ask her again. Like, I gotta leave her alone for a while. But I'm kind
Right,
of, and then you feel really, I don't know, helpless. Like, I'm kind of everyone's mercy right now. I can only
for
do so
sure.
much on my own, right? So
Yeah,
I can't leave the house on my own. There's no way. It's just
right.
not for a while.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, but the diet
yeah.
thing, I kind of like what you said today because I'm going to look into those diets. I'm not sure I'm going to take those diets, but I'm going to look into them. Um,
Hmm.
that's another thing I wanted to bring up when we were talking about my journey.
Hmm.
Um, I managed to lose in my 40s. I lost 140 pounds, right? So
Yeah,
I started getting kind of on my high horse, like, well, don't tell me how to eat. I lost 140 pounds. I know what it takes to
right.
lose weight. I did it, right? Yeah. I did it because I was an opiate addict and I wasn't eating and I was
I
smoking
mean,
lots,
I don't want to take anything away from it, but I think that you said that you basically lost it because you weren't eating,
Bingo. I just
which is
stopped
not
eating.
the way to lose weight, as
No.
we know. So
I-
don't, that's not the way you want to do it.
And I
But
wasn't eating because I was a drug addict and I was recovering. I was depressed. I
right,
just didn't feel like food. And it just
right.
was like someone
Yeah.
said one time, "How'd you lose that weight?" I said, "Well, I could tell you, but it's a tough go, man.
It's not the way you want to do it. That's for sure. Yeah.
Find some opiates, dedicated about 14 years to become really good and addicted. And
Yeah. No, don't recommend any of that on this
so
podcast.
I don't know how to health.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it in a healthy fashion. Let's put it that way. I do
Yeah,
know
I
how to,
think
and sorry,
yeah.
I'm gonna stop interrupting, I
No,
promise,
no.
but I do, I do get snappy with people, and I know I shouldn't because I think there's people out there that maybe haven't had a chance for education or haven't got the information from their parents and they don't know how to eat. They don't know what's going on. I do know how to eat. I do know what's going on. I do know what I'm doing wrong. So
Mm,
I guess it's willpower. It's whatever. But
yeah.
I don't need someone to come to me and explain to me, if you didn't eat carbs and sugar and you ate more meats and vegetables, you'd be healthier.
Right.
I'm always like, yeah, no fucking shit. Like, I'm not an idiot. I
Right.
guess I'm an idiot because I haven't done it,
Right.
but it's not a lack of education or knowledge that's stopping me. It's
Right.
willpower, it's self-esteem, it's a million other things, but it's definitely not about knowing what I should do. I know what to do. It's like
Yeah.
I remember I snapped at a guy we worked with. I won't say his name. I was down in Vegas one day and he saw me drink a Diet Coke and he just laid into me about Diet Coke not being good for me. And I said, would you fuck off?
Right.
And he's like, what's
Right.
wrong? I said, what do you think? You think I'm walking around thinking Diet Coke's healthy for me? Like you think I'm a moron? I know it's not.
Right.
But I
Right.
also said, Diet Coca-Cola is one of the biggest brands in the world. It's been known as the most recognizable brand in the world. I'm not the only person drinking it, okay? Like
Right.
there's a lot of reasons people, and I was brought up on Coca-Cola, and I was taught like I didn't know back then it was as bad for me and all that, and it's hard to change habits, right? Like, I
Yeah.
don't know if you eat really well, and I'm proud of you for that. Like it's amazing. But did you always eat really well?
Yeah, I think honestly, my mom cooked for us all the time, so we had home cooked meals, and that's how I learned to cook. And I mean, I went to university. I didn't eat so well. I was on my own, whatever. But then my first wife, she was a nutritionist, so we ate well then. And I think, I think for me now and for during most of my adult life, I like cooking. And I like preparing meals, and I liked very much the sociability aspect of that. Sometimes it, involved drinking a few glasses of wine, but I like preparing food. My dad always had a vegetable garden, so whenever I had opportunity, I grew my own vegetables. So, yeah, again, I think my environment growing up and subsequently thereafter was such that I just had an appreciation of making good meals, and so that I think was highly beneficial. So it really was it would kind of hand it to me on a silver platter. Like it wasn't hard for me to then, and of course, like I said, I mean, I there wasn't like when I went on the road. Yeah, I fall out of that too. I'm stopping at McDonald's too. I'm rushing around. Of course, for sure. And there have been times where I fluctuated in weight, but not much. Honestly, I mean, I think I was probably 175 pounds in high school. I was maybe got to 205. I know I did. I got to 205 when I was at university, but ever since I've hovered around a certain weight, and I'm grateful to my mom, I guess, really for kind of providing a good foundation for me. That's
And there's
not
so
everyone
many,
gets that.
and that's awesome. And but there are so many factors that we probably don't even realize. Because I want everyone to know that I'm not judging anybody. Because like yeah, you could say someone could say, "Well, I eat great," and then maybe they drink too much, or they smoke too much, or they do something else too much. We all have our vices. We all have things we do wrong. Nobody's perfect, and
Mm.
there's a lot more to it. Like I wasn't real athletic as a child. I didn't like exercise, but I was also a severe, and I mean severe asthmatic as a child. And it was, if
Yeah,
I ran, if I did anything, I couldn't breathe. So I couldn't exercise. I couldn't go do a lot of stuff. I just couldn't. It wasn't in
right.
the, so, and when you grow up enough, you grow a few years and you just, I love my mom. I'm not knocking my mom, but my mom, we ate, if something could come in a box, we ate it in a box. I remember we
Yeah,
would eat
yeah. Oh,
potatoes and
no.
maybe dinners and stuff like that. And then
Yeah,
and then
of
and I
course.
wasn't an exercise family, and I bought a motorcycle when I was 16. I didn't buy a super bicycle. I bought a thing with an engine in it, and as soon as I
Right.
could drive, I drove, and like eh, yeah,
It's it's so funny that you bring that up because I've been up at the farm lately. I've been doing some work up at this farm, and I ride my bike a lot. And I'm like I'm on the road on my bike, 57-year-old guy riding his bike, and I'm like watching all these kids passing me on their motorized scooters and their motorized bikes, and I'm like, when did everybody fucking need a motor to get around? I'm like, what the hell?
absolutely.
Like,
I
so
agree.
that
I
was
see
kind of
some
a
I see
funny
some older
thing.
people on the motorized bikes and they're pedaling a bit. I said, well, good for you. You're trying something. But when you see a 16
Exactly.
year old, like, what the hell are you doing?
What are you? Yeah, well, you can't ride a bike, man. Anyway, it's a funny thing. But I mean, going back to my mom, look, I have fond memories, of course, of eating fish sticks and fries out of a box. Of course, everybody like, and now and then I'll go get a box of fish sticks and fries just to say, you know what? Here, yeah, thank you, mom. Like this is something that I like.
I
But
like
I
fish.
think thankfully, I just had a good balance. And I think that's what we're talking about. At times you got a little out of balance and diabetes came into your life. And then, I mean, you're saying that
I'm paying the
because it
price.
wasn't taken as seriously as it could have been, that it progressed. And that's why we're trying to like at least educate people on what can ultimately happen.
Yes. And
And
I didn't,
I just,
go ahead.
yeah, I just want to go back to, because you were talking about right now, there's a lot of people around and there's a lot of support. And as we know, like that will slowly start to fade a little bit. And then you will be kind of like back to being on your own. And you and I talked a little bit before, um, before the podcast about, what it looks like. I mean, I think you'll be in a bit of grief. Like it's almost impossible to imagine that you won't be because you've lost part of your body. Like, and I just touched on this because I felt like it was important to just discuss, but it's very well known the 7 stages of grief. It's well documented, and I'm going to read them off because I think it's going to be a process. Like the first one would have been shock and disbelief. That is number one. You find out you're like, holy fuck, this is real, right? And
Yep.
then the number two is denial. You're like, okay, well, I don't know, maybe not, but I think maybe in this case, denial probably would have been pretty short-lived because
Yeah,
you were
I
kind
did a
of
little
given
bit of
notice
both,
and it was happening, like you knew it was.
for sure.
Anger, I don't know, like, were you angry?
Yes,
Yeah,
angry at that was happening, angry at myself, like just
yeah,
yeah, angry for sure,
yeah.
for
Anger
sure.
comes in. I mean, you've admitted you're not an angry person, and sometimes we don't necessarily release that anger, but sometimes if we don't, it kind of we push it down, and then what it turns into something else. But bargaining is the next one. Maybe there wasn't a lot of bargaining in this because again, I don't think that. But number five is depression, which may come. It could come after.
Come
Number
already.
yeah, number six is testing. So then you begin to like think, okay, well, I'm gonna have to slowly start changing here. So it says beginning to explore practical solutions and coping strategies, which you had a little test this week, and then slowly shifting from emotion to problem solving. That's number six. And then number seven eventually is acceptance. You're like, okay, well, I mean, again, that comes sort of naturally, but eventually you have to go, okay, I'm going to get a prosthetic. Here's how I'm going to walk. Here's what I'm going to do. And then also the acceptance of, okay, how am I going to change my diet? Can I exercise a bit more? Can I, like, and an acceptance to me of change because, like, change is the only thing that actually happens all the time. We want things to stay the same, but they don't. Everything changes. And so now will be a big time for change in your life, and it's going to be a challenge. But I think, and we talk about this a lot, and I can't help but stress it. It's like my mantra, you know this. It's one day at a time. So what can I do today to make that change slow? Like, what can I eat today to make my diet a little bit better? What can I do to like slowly improve my mindset as to how I'm going to work on this? That kind of stuff. So
Absolutely,
I
absolutely.
thought, yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
thought
we
that going through that was a good kind of process. But
it is. I appreciate it.
yeah,
I never thought of it quite that set out, but I've gone
yeah,
through some of those steps, and we are making. And it is slow, but like I've
yeah,
tried to lay off. I've stopped eating cereal. I'm eating a little bit of oatmeal in the morning.
good,
Not
yeah,
putting a bunch of sugar, and I put a little maple syrup in it just for a little bit of taste.
yeah,
I've been exercising every day. We got rehab exercises, and I hate
awesome,
exercise, but Sean
yeah,
was making me do it. We go through the whole thing. We're adding stuff to it every day. Now, I do, I have been depressed and I do get angry sometimes where I'm just, especially when something goes wrong and I'm just like, oh, fuck, how can this be happening? Right. And I told you about it. I told a few people, like, I had an accident. So I went along about a week and I was doing very well. And I've learned some things. So some technical sides about losing your limb. Um, the main thing you have to do is you have to keep moving it. You have to keep it straight because if a lot of people, when you cut off the muscles and the tendons, it snaps, so it wants to stay bent. And if you don't
mm,
fight against that, it will stay bent, and you'll
uh,
go get a prosthetic, and you won't be able to wear one. So
I
you're
see. Wow. Okay.
so I was keeping it limber and straight and working through the pain and all that stuff. And I was getting around the house. I had a system set up with I've got two walkers, crutches, canes, a different walker, a wheelchair, ramps. My son's put in support bars in the bathroom for me. It's cost us a fortune and all this stuff.
Right.
And but then I'm in the washroom and I think I told you before, I think I was not careless but complacent. Not
Yeah.
sure exactly what happened, but didn't I fall on my bad leg?
Yeah.
And buddy, I screamed like a banshee.
Yeah.
Screamed. Nobody was home, and I was screaming. I was crying. I was in shock. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do because I, I, I think what happened is I started to fall, and I put my foot down to stop it, but I don't have a foot anymore. So I just went straight
course.
down, and all those brand new cut nerves and bones and tendons all just smashed against the floor. And it was just a complete body shock. I blacked
Yeah.
out for a second. I got myself back into this walker, dragged myself over to my chair, and I just sat there crying. And
Yeah.
then I was really got mad, and then I started like, why is this going to be fucking happening to me? And what am I going to do?
Yeah. There's the anger for sure.
And
Yeah.
yes, that was the anger. And then it was
Yeah.
bandaged, and I was scared to look because I thought, did I just rip out all my stitches? Am I going to be back in
Right.
surgery?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's bruised and swollen, and I'm okay. And I got back to my exercises today because I couldn't move for the last few days.
Yeah.
Um, but then I always heard about this thing called phantom pain, and
Yeah.
I thought I thought they meant that once in a while you'd feel a twinge in your foot. No, it's not even with me. The phantom pain hasn't been such a big thing. A little bit. It's the phantom feeling, buddy.
Yeah.
To this day, 2 weeks later, if I'm looking at you, I can look at you right now, and I'm wiggling my toes, and
Right.
they are wiggling just like you are wiggling yours, man. It's no
Wow.
different. I can
Yeah.
feel my ankle, and when I feel pain in my leg, I'm feeling it down by my foot. Everything, my foot is there. As far as my brain concerned, I still have my foot. That's it. There's
Wow.
no,
Yeah.
not a little bit, completely, and it freaks you out. And I think that's
You-
why I put it down because I thought it was there. Just
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
for a
sure.
second.
Well, it
55
makes
years of
sense.
having
It's
a
been
toy,
there for
you know,
54 years. So
right?
yeah, it makes
Now it's
sense.
like,
Yeah.
so. But I'll tell you, I've been scared ever since I had my accident. Um, been a lot more careful. So every movement, I'm being very like, okay, hand goes here,
Yeah.
brake goes on, foot goes here. But I
Yeah.
was struggling, and I got no pride left. I was struggling getting off of the toilet. I stand still. When I gotta go pee, I stand up. I have bars to support me, and I stand on one foot. But when I have to sit down, I was really struggling, even though I had support bars, to get up off the up off to, there was just this one spot, and I just kept struggling, and that's where I fell.
Yeah.
But my son today installed this thing that goes over the toilet with two support bars, and it's fantastic. So I mean, we're making progress all the time, but we're learning, right? This is all new. We're just doing it right.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
Well,
was
I
home.
mean,
I was home in 24 hours, brother.
I know. That's crazy. Yeah.
24 hours. They said they used to
Yeah.
keep you for 3 months to get you through
Yeah. Yeah.
PT and OT and all this stuff. I had my surgery, and 24 hours later, I was home.
Yeah.
And some of that's good. I don't want to be in there. I don't want an infection. I don't want any of that stuff. But some of it, I
Yeah.
could have
It's
used
better to
probably
get
some
home.
more help, and like
Yeah.
to catch 22. Um, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I can't. I'm on here talking to you today about this. Like I gotta tell you, about an hour ago, I thought I'm gonna text Chris. I'm not doing this podcast today. I just haven't got it in
I'm
me.
sure it's hard, and I understand that, and I get it. Like sharing this kind of stuff is hard. There's no doubt about it. But I think you know as well as I do that people can learn from this conversation, and I think that that's what we're focused on, right? And yeah, I mean, like you said a couple things there, and it's super important. And it's kind of you're reiterating what I was saying. Like you have to like really stay present. Like you got to make sure your hand is here, and your hand like you got to stay present. And I had an interesting conversation with somebody just the other day, and we were talking about staying present and staying in the now. And you know, we've talked about kind of be living in the past and regrets, and then we talked a bit about that today, but the past tends to bring up feelings of regret and guilt, and the future tends to bring up feelings of fear. Like we worry about things that may come in the future, but the now tends to be like it just allows you to be present, right?
Absolutely.
And I think like again, power to you. I mean, and nobody wouldn't have been scared to go into this. Like you can't. I can't even imagine. I try to put myself in your shoes and I think about it, but it's really impossible. It wasn't real for me, and it was real for you. And I talked to your wife. I texted a little bit with her, and you're a strong man, and you've gone through a lot, and you've done it. I think always with grace and kindness and a loving attitude, and I think there's always a lesson in this stuff to say like you can continue to persevere and you can now be an advocate for something and maybe help somebody else. And I think that that's your gift for to people, man. And I love you and I'm proud of you and
Well,
and I get it. If an hour ago you were like, I don't really want to do this, I get it, man. It's okay, but you did it, and we're here. And I just, yeah, I'm really, I think this is a wonderful podcast. I think I'm emotional, and
yeah,
it's a lot, man. And I love
it
you, and I'm
is.
happy you're here with me, and that you keep on trucking, man, because it's all you can do, one day at a time, man.
Well, that means a lot to me, Chris. It really does because it's like I had been through a lot,
Yeah,
but you get down on yourself because like we just talked about it. But it doesn't really matter if something's your fault. You still have to deal with it, right? Like,
yeah,
as I don't know. Like I'm to blame for most of my problems, but most of us are to blame for most of our own problems. I mean, it's life.
for sure.
I tried to explain that to a kid in my group before I got off. I just said, we're just humans being humans. Don't be too hard on yourself, man.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah,
as bad as you're doing, someone else is doing worse, and someone else is doing better, and you'll be doing better later, and someone else will be doing worse. Like, don't worry
yeah,
about it. You said it.
yeah,
I live by stuff you say, man, and that day by day, minute by minute. We've
yeah,
talked about it before. The only thing that Chris and Sean really have is right now. Right
yeah,
now.
for sure, for
I can get
sure.
up from this and have a heart attack and be gone. Sean could call you, so Sean died 5 minutes later, Chris. I can't believe it. I mean, who knows? Like you
100%.
could walk over
Yeah,
hit by a car. I know it's an old saying, but it's true.
yeah.
I had one of the girls from my group that I run. She came over with her dad to see me. Um, she's actually running my group for me when I'm down. And while she was here, her father's phone rang, and her sister lost two friends in a car accident. They died that night.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
two, we and there was four people in the car. They were all under 25, and they all died. Bam.
yeah,
Like, how do you think those parents are feeling? Do you think they're worried about the future or the past? They're worried about right fucking now, man.
yeah, yeah,
All we really
and
have.
yeah, um, yeah, when you texted me the other day, and when after you had had your fall, and you said, I have no. What did you say? I have no shame. No, not shame. You didn't. What was the word you used?
Pride left. I
I
said I
have
have no
no
pride
pride,
left.
and I know you do have pride, and you told me your day was ruined, and I tried to kind of like shift your mindset. Like I'm sure it was difficult and it was painful, but like I mean, there's still a silver lining in every day. Like Shauna there,
Yeah, she's just
there's
looking fun.
still
There
there's
is.
still a
Yeah.
silver lining to look for in every day. Like you're here, you're on the podcast. Yeah, you lost your leg, and but you still have a lot of things to be grateful for. I did some stat. There's like 600 million people in the world that have diabetes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And am I not wrong? Wasn't it a Canadian that invented insulin?
Yeah, Banting
Yeah.
and Best. Yeah,
Yeah.
Banting and Best. Actually, I did some research. There's evidence that there was diabetes in like ancient Egypt, ancient
Wow.
India. Like they called it honey urine because they had a sweet smell and taste in the urine that you mentioned. Whether they were eating obviously too much sugar or grain, whatever it was. But yeah, Banting and Best discovered insulin. That again, there's opportunity for change at this point still, right? For you,
Yeah.
like and it's
And we
just yeah,
and
it's
Sean
just a mind shift. It's just a change in your some habits, and I think you
I've
still got a
tried to
lot of good living to do is the net of it, right?
focus on that stuff. There are a lot of changes coming. I mean, it could be career changes, it could be life changes, it's definitely health changes and moving changes and all that stuff. And I'm trying to think of it as a good thing. Like we're going to come to something better. I'll
Yeah,
tell you, as far as silver linings, I mean, I guess we know this, but silver line to me has been my friends and family. My God,
yeah,
man, the stuff people, my friends. My oldest friends were on vacation, so they should be out enjoying themselves. They spent most of it with me, like just sitting here with me because they were worried
right,
about me. And
yeah,
my wife has been just unbelievable. My son has been unbelievable. The stuff they've been doing, like it just, it's been
Yeah.
unreal, the outpouring from everybody. So
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
pretty incredible. Sorry, my phone's ringing. Very unprofessional. You know who's calling? Diabetes Canada, looking for how's that for timing?
Seriously?
Yeah, looking for donations. We donate clothes to them and stuff sometimes.
That's good.
But yeah, I think I'm gonna have to wrap it up. I'm wearing out a little bit, but I think we're pretty much at time anyway. I do feel like we just listen, we spend 45 minutes to an hour together on this stuff. I mean, we just skim
Yeah.
the top of the subject. There's a million more
Yeah.
things I'd like to talk about. The subject would deserve
Yeah.
more time, but I mean, it was nice to touch base on it. I wanted to see you, and I wanted to get a podcast out there. Um, I think we should be able to get back on track now and get back to it. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, look, man, you sharing your personal journey into this is that's a big deal, and sharing about this and what the outcome can ultimately be, which is a scary thing for anybody who's living with diabetes and that there's obviously options. There's a lot of information out there, and sometimes it gets to this. It doesn't have to, but there's still opportunity to keep on going and change some
yeah,
habits and
exactly. But people, I
get
do beg
on
that people
the
take it.
right track.
I do. I will say it again. No less common is that people take it seriously. I read something. This wasn't
Take
my
it
comment,
seriously.
but it's an extreme comment. It was this very well known surgeon, and he
Mhm.
said, with the advances in treatment to AIDS, one of the worst diseases in the world, he said, with the advances of treatment right now, he said, I would rather be told I had AIDS than diabetes. That's how scared he was of it, and that blew my mind. That blew my mind.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow. Wow.
because he said it's
Yeah. There. I did this little common misconception. Yeah, that's crazy. But I did. There was a common misconceptions about diabetes, and one of them was, oh, diabetes is not a serious disease, and they come back with diabetes is a serious chronic condition that can lead to complications like heart disease, kidney failure, blindness, and nerve damage. So yeah, that's pretty serious.
That's pretty much everything. That's the whole gamut. So anyway, listen,
Right.
I'll say see
All
you
right,
later,
brother.
and thanks for spending your time with me. And
Yeah, see you later.
I will be in touch, obviously, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds great.
All right,
Thanks.
love
Thanks
you,
for
man.
sharing your story.
Thanks for
All
being
right,
with me.
brother. Love you.
Bye bye.
Yeah, my pleasure.
They don't need a man who's got it made. Always looking for that renegade. I calls it like I sees it. A spade is a spade. A good man is a thing of yesterday. Yeah.
All right, talk to you soon.
All right, brother.
Bye.
Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Love you.